Deborah, if you would record, and we'll get started. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Remote Work Wednesday for December. On behalf of the Remote Online Initiative and K-State Research and Extension Community Vitality Team, our partner, the North Central Regional Planning Commission, welcome to Remote Work Wednesday. I'm Ron Wilson, Director of the Huck Boyd Institute for Rural Development here at K-State. Big thanks to Deb Oldie of the North Central Regional Planning Commission, Deborah Cole, Program Leader Coordinator for K-State Research and Extension Community Vitality. Remote Work Wednesday is a project of the Remote Online Initiative. And for more info, you can see www.kansasremotework.com. There you'll see the graphic on the screen. And the Remote Online Initiative is offering month-long online classes which enable participants to become trained and certified as a remote worker and or a remote work team leader. And so those classes are available online monthly in a partnership with Utah State University. This Zoom call is for everyone. It's to support people taking the classes, but really for anyone who's interested in remote work. And the purpose of the Zoom call is very, very simple, and that is to learn about the opportunities and challenges of remote and hybrid work for those who choose to use it. And so that's the purpose of Remote Work Wednesdays. This particular project is supported by a grant from the Network Partnership for Community Investment. The North Central Regional Planning Commission, as represented by Deb Oldie here today, was the recipient of that grant, Network Community Solutions Grant. And that grant has provided ROI scholarships for classes in targeted counties not otherwise receiving scholarship support. So Remote Work Wednesday is one part of that project, and we're thrilled with that partnership with the North Central Regional Planning Commission. We have some excellent Remote Work Wednesdays upcoming. Remote Work Wednesday, the first Wednesday of every month, at least through our grant period. And the next one will be January 3, Networking in the New Year with Krista Cooper, the CEO and career coach. So we're going to jump into the new year right away on January 3rd with that Remote Work Wednesday, and you want to make sure you're here for that. Then on February 7, Remote Work Wednesday in February, we'll get into some significant dollars and cents issues, and that has to do with the tax implications of being a remote worker, an independent remote worker. And so make sure you join us for that. With that, let's step into today's Remote Work Wednesday topic. Jason Smith is General Manager and CEO of Rainbow Communications in Everest. Rainbow Communications serves Northeast Kansas. Jason has degrees in Ag Economics from K-State and MBA from Baker University. He's been with Rainbow since 1998, been CEO since 2016. In 2015, Rainbow Communications was recognized with the National Smart Rural Community Showcase Award for outstanding broadband service. And that designation, Smart Rural Communities, has since been broadened to include other companies that provide outstanding broadband service. And I hope Jason will tell us more about that. In fact, Jason, we'll ask you to tell us more about your company, about Smart Rural Communities, and your perspective on remote and hybrid work. With that, Jason, we'll turn the floor over to you.
Okay, well, thank you, Ron, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak here today. It's always thought-provoking when you got a topic that you can zero in on and put your thoughts to. So I'm really appreciative of the Remote Online Initiative for asking me to do this today, and I'm looking forward to today's conversation. So I'm going to share a screen with the group and go through a few things and come back to our conversation to help me explain who we are and what we're about. So I'll do that right now, and I'll get it turned to presenter mode once I get it put on. Okay, it looks like everything's looking good there. And so yeah, Rainbow Communications. Just kind of give you an idea where we're at. We're up in the northeast part of the state. We were founded in 1953, so we just celebrated our 70th birthday. We're a co-op. Our ownership's a cooperative, and if you see this bright yellow area here, the Bryant Orange area, this is our co-op exchanges where we provide service today. We also have branched out through some acquisitions of a cable TV company back in the early 2000s. We branched out and we provide broadband service in the communities of Seneca, Sabetha, Hiawatha, Highland, Troy, Wathena, and Elwood. We've come down also to Effingham and Lancaster, and we've branched out to the Shannon Industrial Park, on over to the Earhart Airport, and we're actually building fiber in the city of Atchison at this present time. And also a couple of partnerships that we've come through. We've worked with the Sac and Fox tribe of Kansas and the Iowa tribe of Kansas and Nebraska to deploy broadband on the reservations. So we've been around. We were a phone company. We've evolved now. We call ourselves a broadband company. That's where we are. And our commitment is to be putting in fiber. Like Ron said, I started in 1998. When I started, we served about 1,500 cooperative members within this footprint with about 9 employees. And now we can serve up to 9,700 locations up in this Northeast Kansas area and continue to grow that. And our focus has been on fiber. We right now, and this is a little bit of a dated number because we're putting fiber in every day. So the last time I checked, which was just a few months ago, we had about 1,090 miles of fiber in service. And right now, about 126 hybrid fiber coax miles. And those are mostly in these towns like Seneca, Sabetha, and Hiawatha. But we're also in the process of overbuilding those with fiber optic as well. And our goal is to by 26, 27 to be 100% fiber optic in all our networks. To give you a different look at what the fiber optic network, this is actually our network. The blue lines that actually represent where we have fiber connectivity. And so when you go to these rural areas where our cooperative boundaries are, you can see that we have an extensive fiber network in these areas. And these customers have been, I think we finished our project in 2012. They've been connected to fiber broadband since that time. And right now we're providing speeds up to 1 gigabit per second. And we're also looking to increase that as technology increases. But the infrastructure is in place. It's scalable and we can adapt quickly to the future needs. One thing they talk about is there's a Nielsen's law of bandwidth. They said that the user's bandwidth increases by 50% per year. So, someone using 100 meg today would actually need to 5 gig in 10 years if that keeps up. And so these fiber networks, they're built for this. And that's why we've been advocating for fiber in the rural areas. We think it's the preferred technology. We believe in it. We believe in the stability of it. It's really a strong service. We've like I said, we've got 10 years in with being pretty much fully fiber, and we definitely see the advantages of it and the growth that can happen with it. So something we're pretty proud of, but we're not resting on our laurels. We're going to keep expanding and keep building and keep upgrading. Looking at we are what they call an independent rural local exchange carrier is still our designation. And there's actually 33 local exchange carriers within the state of Kansas. The varying ownership structures of these carriers. 13 of them are cooperatives, 14 of them are family owned. And then there's 6 others, they have some different types of ownership. But the one thing we all have in common is we're 100% community based. These providers live in their communities, are the friends and neighbors of their customers. We've got to do things differently because we know those people. We can't hide behind a phone. They know where we are, and we got to be accountable to these communities, and we are. And that's one thing about these companies that we've really really have worked to do that. Some of these companies have been around for a long time. I mentioned we're 70 years old. Some of these companies got their start in communication service in the early 1900s even. So they were probably stringing telephone wire along a fence post, but I've heard a lot of stories about that. I'm kind of glad I wasn't here for those days, but it really is quite an amazing story of how these communities came together when they needed service back in the day and were able to build this build this network of companies. So, but I will say we serve the most rural, remote areas too. If you take that same footprint and we overlay it over the populations per square mile, you can see when you get out west, we're looking at about 1.6 people per square mile. The companies serve 50% of geographic Kansas, but we only serve about 8.3% of the housing units and 7.5% of the population. So to use Ron's word, now that's rural. So these companies have also, though, they've looked at their neighboring communities and they've expanded beyond those boundaries to provide service in underserved neighboring communities, much like we have as well. When I mentioned Seneca and Hiawatha, where opportunity was, but fiber is extremely expensive. You're looking at an investment anywhere from $45,000 a mile to put fiber infrastructure in the ground. And, without having mechanisms like the Universal Service Fund and the importance of that to help us build network and maintain those networks. It's not just the building it, you've got to maintain it when it's done. And these companies have taken on that challenge and used those funds for what they were intended for and build out these areas of Kansas. So, it's something that's, we talk a lot about. We're talking to our legislatures, and as we do have a big swath, and it's the most remote, hardest areas to reach. But again, it's still part of the economy in Kansas, and it still has a connection piece to it. And much like in the days of everybody having universal telephone service, broadband has become that now. So coming back to speaking about being a smart rural community. So there's a designation. Most of us are members of a national association called NTCA. It's the Rural Broadband Association. And about 10 years ago, NTCA created what they called the Smart Rural Community Showcase Award. And this award program was to recognize companies that have really gone above and beyond I almost call it looking beyond the network. You can build the fiber, but what are you doing in that community to build that community? No one's meant to be alone. It's a community, and how are you partnering with your communities, and how are you doing that? And so as of today, 16 of those independent companies that I showed in that last slide are actually considered smart rural communities. So I put this slide together just to kind of show you the network of where there's a smart rural community in the state of Kansas. And, the NTCA, they represent 850 independent community providers throughout the United States. And so, like I said, in 50% of Kansas is considered a smart rural community. And I can tell you what, our other companies, some of them aren't listed yet. Once they get their paperwork in, they'll be listed as well, because they're just as smart as everyone else. So, but they just don't have the designation yet. But these communities are looking for opportunities to engage their service communities, and they've really committed to driving growth and making their communities thrive. So I just have a few examples of our smart rural community partners and things that they're doing in their communities. And so I'll step into that. So number one, like with Rainbow, being a smart rural community, we've worked with securing a grant for like the Doniphan County Fire Department. And that was to get them some iPads to equip in their fire trucks. And so that was a pretty big deal for us to be able to do that. But again, it's providing that local connection. If that's going to improve the safety in the area, that's right back to what we're about. We look at the company that's CanOkla. CanOkla is actually located in Caldwell, Kansas. They help co-sponsor a tech camp with Cali County Community College, and that's where they taught with kids to get into the world of coding, design, gaming, and computer hardware. And so, that's again another connection to those communities, helping broaden that education and what opportunities might lie out there in the future, now and in the future. Golden Belt Telephone out of Rush Center, they established what they call their GOLD initiative, and that stands for their GBT Opportunities for Leadership Development. And that's where they're actually, working with their high school students and stuff and explaining what kind of jobs they would have and what's going to be needed to keep these networks and these companies going in the future, but also bringing back to the rural area, what can you do back here and what those networks would provide. So going back into this remote remote online initiative, really starting to plant the seeds at an early age that you can come back here, and we have the networks to do that. When we look at Next Tech out of Hayes, they're working with their communities. I thought this was an interesting, they're doing training classes with online initiatives to how to target customers with digital advertising. So they're providing education from their expertise to showing people how to use the tools that are out there to help, with their business or their online work. SC Telecom, they're out of Medicine Lodge. They've got what they call Wi-Fi on the go. It's community-wide Wi-Fi that they've put into these towns in their service area. So you have a safe, secure network connection. If you're one of their customers, you can take, work from anywhere, and you got that connection and that availability. Also, then we have like TCT, they're out of Council Grove, a little bit more on the gaming side, providing some entertainment, but actually providing access to tournaments and live streams and game nights. As online gaming is becoming a very big piece of the broadband network and what it's being used for. It's I've actually found out something from someone I was working with earlier this fall. I was kind of teasing him, but then I found out I must be getting I kind of dated myself, because I found out. I said, are you a fan of an online gaming team? And he was. I said it tongue in cheek, and found out he was actually very serious about that. And he told me about, they use an app called Twitch, where they're watching online gamers just like we would, settle in to watch the Wildcats. So it's amazing, how these things are turning, but these broadband networks are making this possible. We look at Pioneer Communications out of Ulysses. They're sponsoring STEM summer camps and partner with Garden City Community College. Again, looking beyond that network, how they building that community up. Then out the Blue Valley out of Home, Kansas, they're doing, providing outreach with their schools, partnering with their schools, and putting on programs like they're showing the high school basketball games over their network and providing access to that. So, again, building that community around that fiber broadband. And then it's not just, what we're doing, but, what's it doing for our customers? WTC Fiber, Wamego Telephone, this was just coming from their, found this on their Facebook site, but, this person said their current work as an online medical consultant depends on fast and reliable internet access. So they were pretty excited that WTC was going to be building a fiber network in their area to provide them that access. Twin Valley Telephone out of Miltonville, their customer put on, really that their Wi-Fi and their broadband service really has been a game changer for their business. So, these are just a few examples of what's going on with the smart rural communities in Kansas. That I'm just showing here a final picture, of United Communications out of Dodge City, and that they just Cimarron's now a smart rural community, and they put up road signs as we all do. You'll drive through some of our towns, you'll see a road sign. And now you know a little bit more what the road sign means, because I notice them when I drive through, but I know what it means. But you see these smart rural communities, you know that you're in an area where there's a provider that's providing that service. So that's just kind of an overview of the Smart Rural Community Initiative. And I am going to stop sharing my screen and come back to. Hang on a second. Now I'm embarrassed, Ron, because we worked on this earlier and now I've clicked the wrong thing.
Yeah, it should be a stop share.
I got it. Okay, thank you. So sorry about that, but no, I mean, I really put my thoughts about this. Any provider can come in and provide a network. Technology is agnostic. Technology is technology. But it's what are you doing beyond the connection to build that community and supporting your community? And that's what us as the independent providers are all about, and your smart rural providers. It's being that neighbor, finding that need. And so, I think about the remote online initiative, and I'm just really excited when I heard, talking about, what you're doing and the program that you're offering to help people to be there, because, like as an opportunity, I hate to say it, but we're open for business. We've got the networks to support you in this rural area. If that's a lifestyle that you're looking for and want to come back to, the networks are in place in these areas that you could actually do your job, have that service that you need, and be supported. So I kind of turn it back to you, Ron, and let's see where the discussion goes. I know you want to talk about some opportunities and challenges, but I'll let you maybe go from there.
Thanks, Jason. Terrific job. So glad to learn about the great work you're doing at Rainbow and about the Smart Rural Community Initiative across Kansas. It's great to see. I did want to ask you, and I encourage all of our participants to post a message in chat or feel free to unmute at the appropriate time. We saw the remote work become absolutely necessary during the pandemic, on all kinds of fronts, education, just individual workers, healthcare, et cetera. Seems to be some ebb and flow. And there was an article in our local newspaper last night, actually, from the Chicago newspaper, talking about the new state of remote work. And basically, my takeaway from that article was they think hybrid work is probably going to be the standard for the future, that employees really value flexibility, and employers, to get the talent they need, have to cast a pretty broad net. But we also know there's certain functions that have to be performed in person, and there's no substitute for direct personal interaction. What's the state of remote work? Is remote work or hybrid work pretty common in Northeast Kansas, Jason?
I say it. There's parts that are, and I concur with what you said. You know, when we came through the pandemic and had to go fully remote, we were able to do it, and it actually proved to us a lot of things that we could do it and do it pretty quickly, and do that. But I will agree there are the pieces you miss out on, and those pieces are those social interactions and that person next door. So the hybrid piece, I can definitely see being more the direction going forward, because I think you still need to have that social interaction and that for that team building and part of an organization. But you know, there's locations, you know, we just all being at the same office and the things like that, and you hit the nail on the head. Finding that future workforce, you know, you might need to adapt to get the talent that you need. We have that situation right now. My CFO does not live in our service area. She actually lives in North Kansas City. She's here a few days a week and she's remote a few days a week. But yeah, but we're fortunate. You know, I told Ron earlier, I said, you know, our main headquarters were an hour from the Kansas City airport, but we're able to tap into that market to get some expertise that we need that maybe would not be available to us elsewhere. You know, it's kind of tough as a service provider like we are, but we need to be here. We're here for the community. So it kind of changes, you know, what our ability to work from home. But what has been nice is when we've come up against areas like, let's say, ice storm, snowstorm, we know we're not going to have office traffic. We tell our staff, take your phones from your desk and plug them in at home, and we're at work, but we're not in the office. We're not putting our staff at, you know, at risk on those days. And so being able to do the hybrid and provide that type of flexibility is good. And, there's no real such thing as a sick day, I guess, anymore, because you can always be connected. So, but I will say, last year I was laid up after some surgery, and you know, I was off, but I wasn't off. I was actually there, and so you know that does provide that flexibility and the likes. You know, I think one thing for an opportunity when I think about these communities and this remote work, and you know, I'm thinking maybe as you know, people get away from having the brick and mortar locations, though. It'd be interesting to see, and you know, how do these communities come together to build that hub for these remote workers? Because there's still going to be a need that you're going to need an office space sometimes, and you're going to need a place to go. And you know, we've heard of co-working spaces and things like that. And and there's a few in Kansas, but I could see that being a real opportunity throughout the state of having those remote work. I would even call them hubs, where people that are remote workers have a place to come if they need a meeting space or things like that, but they don't have to have the office space. And they could come in and be equipped with the technology and the tools that they need to do their job, but be on a kind of a come and go basis. And so I think that'd be a real opportunity to help connect these and bridge that hybrid work situation.
Great point. I know Wamego has an active co-working space, and Manhattan has several here. And I think there's an increasing number of those across the state.
I think you can see that more even in the smaller, more rural communities. I think there's a need. There could be a need for that.
I really appreciate what you said about building the community, not just the technological network, but the community itself. And I was really impressed when I learned that Rainbow had taken some initiatives like to convene some of the IT folks in the local companies and some training for senior citizens on how to stream and telemedicine. You want to say a word about some of your local initiatives on that?
Sure. Well, I'll talk to you a little bit about the streaming. I mentioned earlier, 2005, we bought a local cable TV company. And, we got to a point by 2020, we were kind of in need of doing some major upgrades to it. But looking ahead, we kind of saw what was coming, and we knew we had this great broadband network, and streaming was becoming the norm. We could see the YouTube TV, and so we had a decision to make. And we made the decision to stop providing cable and help people learn how to stream, and then they could choose their provider and use our network. And that's been a great move. But that actually has started us working with groups, teaching them how to stream, teaching them how to use, Hulu and YouTube and those things like that, because it was out of necessity, because what we were moving away from. I give the greatest example. My father-in-law at the time was 74 years old, I think. And he's a big old Norwegian guy and a little bit stubborn. And he come at Christmas, I bought him a Roku, and he looked at me like I was crazy. And I said, no, I'm going to hook this up and you're going to learn how to use it. And, it wasn't for too long. That guy is streaming all kinds of stuff. He loves it. He watches more regular YouTube than he watches any TV. And it's because he can watch Hee Haw and he can watch the Lawrence Welk Show reruns. And then the one that gets me the most, I go in there, the man watches people bale hay. He really misses hay baling. So he watches people bale hay. Somebody had a camera mounted to the front of their tractor and was driving through the field, and he was watching that. I told him, I said, Ron, that's the most boring thing I've ever watched. But a man like that, learning at that age, has opened a whole new world of entertainment and information for him. He's finding interests that he likes, and he's getting where he's not getting out of the house as much anymore, but it's opened that world to him. And so, it's important that we're continuing to build that community and build that around that, because things are changing. They're not going to stay the way they were. And, you could just drop video and go, well, good luck. But if we teach them how to use the service, they'll actually see the benefits of it as well. So, there's that. I commend our staff puts together the IT meetings and congregates the IT people from the companies. There a lot of times in these smaller companies, there's maybe only one IT person. So, give them a network and just allow them to have a space to have that conversation and come together and talk about best practices or things going on. And so that's been a real good thing as well. And so, those are the type of things that being that community-based provider, we can help build that community and keep working towards those things.
I think that's only going to expand. Erin notes that her grandparents watch polka dancing on Roku.
I saw that. I put on some really good hay baling videos if you want to know. So,
Jason, in my opinion, when folks figured out that they could connect with their grandkids online, That was a game changer.
It is. And I'll tell another funny story about my in-laws, but they would always, and you can probably relate, if you got your TV on the wrong input, they never could figure out how to get it put back on, right? And so I'd have to drive in 5 miles to their house and change the input. But now I FaceTime them and I tell them, just turn the screen to the TV and I'll tell you what buttons to push. So it saved me about 10 miles every time they get on the wrong input now. So.
You know, I go back to the days when I was the remote control. Junior, get up and change.
Oh yeah. Been a pipe wrench, right? It's kinda, yeah.
Questions? Any questions from anyone? Saw some great comments, but not seeing questions. In a minute, I'm gonna remind us of our upcoming Remote Work Wednesday programs, because we're excited about that, and we hope that those will continue beyond February as well. But beyond the technology and beyond the tools is the networking, is the personal connections, whether it's online or face-to-face. And I'm going to ask Deb Oldie, the Community Development Strategic Advisor for the North Central Regional Planning Commission, to speak a word about what's happening in North Central Kansas, to carry on the work of this original grant. Deb, would you want to say a word about that?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Ron. We are planning to create a networking opportunity with individuals interested either because they are currently working remotely or because they would like to, and also possibly employers who are utilizing that option or who would like to explore doing so, particularly with a focus in North Central Kansas on the 12 primary counties that we serve. We have listened to and learned from some of the things that the Dane Hansen Foundation area has incorporated into their support for remote work initiatives. And one of the things that they've identified that is huge for being successful in that arena is exactly what Ron was just saying, that opportunity to network, that opportunity to have someone do some follow-up with you and, you know, kind of keep checking back with you about how it's going for you, if you've gotten the position that you really are interested in, or if you're an employer, you know, just looking at, you know, what's not working, what are some of the struggles that you're having. I have a real personal interest in this. I have worked in a hybrid situation since 1994 and have felt very fortunate to be able to do that. It has been a wonderful benefit for myself and my family, and also for the company that I work for. Because we've been able to tap into employees across our region. You know, we have boots on the ground in more areas than just our home base, and we get the lay of the land a little bit better because of that. And of course, as has been mentioned, you know, the ability to tap into a talent pool that is not really able to maybe commute every day, but can be in your office part of the time. So again, we just have an interest, and shortly after the first of the year, we'll start to roll out some of the specifics on that in supporting folks that are either working remotely or companies that want to know how to better manage that situation. And I feel like we're in a good spot because of our experience as a company, and also with some of our employees, to be able to do some coaching and support in that regard and kind of manage the logistics of pulling people together. I also think it serves to meet that need that was also expressed about, you know, the isolation that can happen, and not so much for someone who's working in a hybrid situation, but for an independent contractor, or even if you're an employee, but you really never go into your main office anymore, you need to create purposefully those opportunities to go to lunch with somebody who can spark some new ideas or have a conversation with you, or taking an opportunity to make sure you're, you know, engaging in your community in the Chamber of Commerce, or that you're going to a conference or something periodically, because otherwise you can begin to feel kind of disconnected, not only from your office folks, but also just from your career path and your industry that you work in as well. So again, looking for those opportunities to cross-pollinate ideas in rural communities and be supportive of those individuals and companies that are promoting remote work.
Thank you very much, Deb. I appreciate you doing that. And, you know, and there are trade-offs in the flexibility, the isolation. It reminds me that when I took the remote online initiative class, one of the things that the class addresses is project management, tracking your work so that your boss, your employer sees the work that you're doing. So you're not just invisible when you're remote. And, you know, other ways to connect digitally and so forth to build that network because it's a personal network's important as well as our technological network. So appreciate these comments from anyone. I'm not seeing any further questions. Can we give a virtual round of applause for Jason and a terrific presentation today and the great work that you're doing there in Northeast Kansas and with the Smart Rural Community Project. So Jason, thank you very much.
Oh, thanks, Ron. And again, I appreciate the opportunity, but also hope that we can continue to work on some things together because I think what you got going on with this initiative and what we do is very tied together, and I look forward to continuing the conversation.
Exactly, and we do as well. Our next Remote Work Wednesday session, there's the graphic to remind us, January 3, 2024. Can you believe it? That will be from a career coach who will have some excellent advice for us on this very topic we've been discussing. With that, that concludes Remote Work Wednesday. Thank you for joining us. Keep up your good work, and we wish all of you wonderful holidays and a very happy new year. Thank you, everyone.